to one of the officers from the fort who had come on board, he smiled sadly, and replied, "Believe me, in this instance, as in many others, 'tis distance lends enchantment to the view." Could you take a nearer survey of some of those very picturesque groups which you admire, I think you would turn away from them with heart sickness. You would there behold every variety of disease, vice, poverty, filth, and famine, human misery in its most disgusting and saddening form, such pictures as Hogarth's pencil could only have portrayed, or Crabbe's pen described. August 14th. We are once more under way, and floating up the river with the tide. Gros Isle is just 25 miles below Quebec. A favourable breeze would carry us up in a few hours. As it is, we can only make a little way by tacking from side to side, when we lose the tide. I rather enjoy this way of proceeding, as it gives one a close view of both sides of the river, which narrows considerably as we approach nearer towards Quebec. To morrow, if no accident happens, we shall be anchored in front of a place rendered interesting both by its historical associations and its own native beauty of situation. Till to morrow, then, adieu. I was reckoning much on seeing the falls of Montmorenci, which are within sight of the river, but the sun set, and the stars rose brilliantly before we approached within sound of the cataract; and though I strained my eyes till they were weary of gazing on the dim shadowy scene around me, I could distinguish nothing beyond the dark masses of rock that forms the channel through which the waters of the Montmorenci rushed into the St. Lawrence. At 10 last night, August the 15th, the lights of the city of Quebec were seen gleaming through the distance like a coronet of stars above the waters. At half past 10 we dropped anchor opposite the fort, and I fell asleep dreaming of the various scenes through which I had passed. Again I was destined to be disappointed in my expectations of going on shore. The visiting surgeon advised my husband and me by no means to land, as the mortality that still raged in the town made it very hazardous. He gave a melancholy description of the place: "Desolation and woe and great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children because they are not," are words that may well be applied to this city of the pestilence. Nothing can be more imposing than the situation of Quebec, built on the sides and summit of a magnificent rock, on the highest point of which, Cape Diamond, stands the fortress overlooking the river, and commanding a most superb view of the surrounding scenes. I did, indeed, regret the loss of this noble prospect, the equal of which I suppose I shall never see. It would have been something to have thought on and recalled in after years, when buried in the solitude of the Canadian woods. The opposite heights, being the Point Levi side, are highly picturesque, though less imposing than the rock on which the town stands. The bank is rocky, precipitous, and clothed with trees that sweep down to the water's edge, excepting where they are cleared away to give a place to white cottages, gardens, and hanging orchards. But in my opinion much less is done with this romantic situation than might be effected if good taste were exercised in the buildings, and on the disposal of the ground. How lovely would such a spot be rendered in England or Scotland! Nature here has done all, and man but little, excepting sticking up some ugly wooden cottages, as mean as they are tasteless. It is, however, very possible there may be pretty villas and houses higher up, that are concealed from the eye by the intervening groves. The river is considered to be just a mile across from Point Levi to the landing stairs below the custom house in Quebec, and it was a source of amusement to me to watch the horse ferry boats that ply between the two shores. The captain told me there were not less than 12 of these comical looking machines. They each have their regular hours, so that you see a constant succession going or returning. They carry a strange assortment of passengers, well and ill dressed, old and young, rich and poor, cows, sheep, horses, pigs, dogs, fowls, market baskets, vegetables, fruit, hay, corn, anything and everything you will see by turns. The boat is flat, railed round with a wicker at each end to admit the live and dead stock that go or are taken on board. The centre of the boat, if such it can be called, is occupied by four lean, ill favoured hacks, who walk round and round, as if in a threshing machine, and work the paddles at each side. There is a sort of pen for the cattle. I am told there is a monument erecting in honour of Wolfe, in the governor's garden, looking towards the St. Lawrence, and to be seen from Point Levi. The inscription has not yet been decided upon. Note. Since the period in which the author visited Quebec, Wolfe's monument has been completed. Lord Dalhousie, with equal good feeling and good taste, has united the names of the rival heroes Wolfe and Montcalm in the dedication of the pillar, a liberty of feeling that cannot but prove gratifying to the Canadian French, while it robs the British warrior of none of his glory. The monument was designed by Major Young of the 97th Regiment. To the top of the surbase is 14 feet from the ground. On this rests a sarcophagus 7 feet 3 inches high, from which rises an obelisk 42 feet 8 inches in height, and the apex is 2 feet 1 inch. The dimensions of the obelisk at the base are 6 feet by 4 feet 8 inches. A prize medal was adjudged to J.C. Fisher, LL.D., for the following inscription on the sarcophagus: Mortem virtus communem, famem historia monumentum posteritas dedit. On the surbase is an inscription from the pen of Dr. Mills, stating the fact of the erection of the monument at the expense of Lord Dalhousie, Governor of Lower Canada, to commemorate the death of Wolfe and Montcalm, September 13 and 14, 1759. Wolfe fell on the field, and Montcalm, who was wounded by the single gun in the possession of the English, died on the next day after the battle. The captain has just returned from the town. He very kindly brought on board a basket of ripe apples for me, besides fresh meat, vegetables, bread, butter, and milk. The deck is all bustle with custom house officers and men unloading a part of the ship's freight, which consists chiefly of rum, brandy, sugar, and coals, for ballast. We are to leave Quebec by 5 o'clock this evening. The British America, a superb steam vessel of 3 decks, takes us in tow as far as Montreal. I must now say farewell. End of Letter 2.